The old courthouse smelled of old wood, dust and something colder, like fear. People were already whispering as the tall black man walked in, his footsteps calm, steady, almost too steady for someone supposedly fighting a criminal charge. His name on the docket read Marcus Hale, but no one in the room knew that the man in the crisp navy suit was Director Marcus Hale, head of the FBI's Internal Corruption Task Force. He wasn't here by accident. He wasn't here as a suspect. He was here to expose someone, but only he knew that. Judge Cassandra Boyd sat on the bench like a queen on a throne, chin raised, expression carved from ice. She was known for one thing, her hatred of men like Marcus. For years she'd issued harsh sentences to black defendants, overturning evidence, ignoring facts, steamrolling hearings. Yet, she'd never been caught. Never questioned. Powerful families protected her. Wealthy donors fed her career, and with every unchecked verdict, her arrogance grew. Today, she didn't know that the man she was trying to humiliate was the man investigating her. The bailiff cleared his throat. Case 2047, State versus Marcus Hale. Gasps fluttered around the gallery. Marcus stepped forward with a calm so intimidating it looked like confidence or stupidity, depending on who was judging. Judge Boyd's lips curled slightly. "Mr. Hale," she said, voice dripping with disdain, "you're late." He wasn't. He had arrived 15 minutes early, but she had deliberately delayed calling the case so she could claim disrespect. Marcus lifted his eyes to meet hers. "My apologies, Your Honor. I arrived on time." She smirked. "Not according to my records. And in this courtroom, my records are the law." People shifted uncomfortably. Everyone knew what she meant. Her word was final, whether it was true or not. Marcus simply nodded. Understood. His tone was smooth, composed, but underneath, he was assessing every reaction, every expression, every potential witness. Agents from his team were planted quietly in the gallery, one disguised as a reporter, one as a clerk, one as a maintenance worker. Tiny cameras were recording every move Judge Boyd made. She had no idea she was walking into her own investigation. "State your name for the record," she ordered. "Marcus Hale." Her pen paused. "Occupation?" Marcus stared at her for a slow, deliberate second. "Consultant." It wasn't a lie, just not the truth she wanted. Judge Boyd raised an eyebrow. "Consultant? Of what? Street crime?" A few people looked down, embarrassed, but she enjoyed their discomfort. "You were found in possession of a suspicious package near a restricted building." Marcus kept a straight face. "The package was mine, and it contained documents I'm legally permitted to carry." "That's not what the arresting officer says. That officer didn't open the package." "That officer," she snapped, leaning forward, "had probable cause because of your behavior." "My behavior?" Marcus asked quietly. "Walking?" "Yes," she said sharply. "Sometimes walking somewhere you don't belong is suspicious enough." The courtroom inhaled sharply. She heard it. She liked it. Marcus watched her carefully. She wasn't trying to hide her bias. She never had to. No one had ever challenged her. But today was different. Judge Boyd tapped her gavel. "You seem very calm, Mr. Hale. Most defendants facing possible years in prison are more nervous." "I've been in courtrooms before," Marcus replied. "Not mine," she said. "And not on charges this serious." She glanced at the prosecutor, who stood ready with a file thicker than the actual evidence. Marcus knew that file was filled with exaggerated reports, manipulated statements, maybe even fabricated details. The judge and prosecutor ran a tight circle, one that preyed on people who couldn't afford to fight back. But Marcus could fight back. He just wasn't ready to strike yet. "Your Honor," Marcus said, "this case is a misunderstanding, and the evidence—" "Silence," she snapped. "You don't speak until spoken to. I will not tolerate insolence." He raised his hand slightly, signaling surrender. Not anger, not defiance. Something else. Something she mistook for fear. She leaned back, satisfied. "Bail is denied." There was an eruption of whispers. Even corrupt judges rarely denied bail for such minor accusations. But she wanted him locked up immediately. Wanted to show dominance. Wanted to make an example of him. Marcus didn't flinch. Judge Boyd studied him, confused. She expected panic, outrage, shouting, something she could punish. But he remained calm, almost amused. "Do you understand what that means, Mr. Hale?" she asked. "Yes," Marcus said quietly. "It means this hearing is going exactly as expected." Exactly as expected. A chill ran through her. "What is that supposed to mean?" He smiled politely. "Nothing, Your Honor, just an observation, but his team caught it." She didn't know that every racist comment, every denial of rights, every abuse of power was being logged, time-stamped, saved. She didn't know this wasn't a hearing. It was a trap. Judge Boyd straightened. "We will reconvene tomorrow. Court is adjourned." Her gavel cracked sharply. Marcus turned to leave, hands ready for the cuffs she'd ordered. But as the bailiff approached, Marcus leaned in just enough for the judge to hear his final words before being escorted out. "Tomorrow will be interesting." She frowned. She had no idea. Tomorrow the truth would walk into her courtroom and destroy everything she'd built. Morning sunlight slipped through the courthouse windows, painting long bars of gold across the hallway floor. It felt peaceful, calm even. But the calm was a lie. Inside courtroom 3B, the tension was already thick enough to choke on. Everyone felt it, everyone except Marcus Hale. He walked in escorted by 2 officers, but his posture was the same as yesterday. Tall, steady, unreadable. People turned to stare again, whispering. Some recognized the look in his eyes today. Yesterday he was silent. Today he was calculating, ready. Judge Cassandra Boyd entered with her usual arrogance, robes flowing like a dark cloud, chin lifted high as if the world itself answered to her. She tapped her gavel twice, sharp, irritated. "Let's proceed quickly. I have no patience for delays today, but delays weren't the problem. Control was. And today, for the first time in her career, she was going to lose it." Marcus met her eyes, and something in his expression made her uncomfortable. It was the first crack in her confidence. "Mr. Hale," she said, tightening her grip on the bench, "I hope you've learned to conduct yourself properly today." Marcus didn't blink. "Conduct has never been my issue, Your Honor. Your sarcasm won't help you. I wasn't being sarcastic." She inhaled slowly, then motioned to the prosecutor. "Present your evidence so we can put this nonsense behind us." The prosecutor, Vincent Crowley, her loyal puppet, stood with a smirk. His voice oozed false concern. "Your Honor, the defendant was found loitering near—" "Loitering?" Marcus interrupted, eyebrow raised. "Is standing still now a crime?" The judge slammed her gavel. "You will not interrupt this proceeding." The gallery tensed. Even Crowley flinched. Marcus slowly placed his hands behind his back, as if surrendering the floor to them. "My apologies," he said calmly. "Please continue. Fabricating." Crowley blinked. Judge Boyd's nostrils flared. "Enough, bailiff, if he speaks out of turn again." "Then you'll do what?" Marcus asked quietly. "Hold me in contempt for defending myself." The judge froze. So did the room. Something about him felt dangerous today. Not violent, not aggressive, but powerful. The kind of power that didn't need shouting. The kind that came from knowing the truth before anyone else did. Crowley continued shakily. "As I was saying, the defendant was carrying a suspicious package." "Did you open the package?" Marcus asked. "No, but did anyone open it?" "No, but—" "So you're testifying about the contents of something you've never seen?" Crowley faltered. "We had reason to believe. You had racial profiling," Marcus corrected. "Not reason," the gallery buzzed. Judge Boyd snapped. "Mr. Hale, last warning." The bailiff stepped closer. Marcus looked around the room, then back at the judge. "Your Honor, before we continue, the defense requests that you recuse yourself." Silence. Heavy. Shocked. The judge laughed, a short, sharp, humorless sound. "On what grounds? Bias, personal prejudice, conflict of interest? Take your pick." Her smile vanished. "Do you have evidence of such outrageous accusations?" "I do," Marcus said simply. Crowley folded his arms, smirking again. "Then present it. If you have anything at all." Marcus reached into his coat. The officers tensed. The bailiff reached for his weapon. Judge Boyd barked, "Don't you dare move!" Marcus froze, raising his hand slightly. "It's just a file. But if you want your officers to tackle me in front of the press section, feel free." She gestured impatiently. "Give it to the bailiff." The bailiff snatched the folder from Marcus and brought it to the judge. She opened it, and her face drained of color. Inside were photographs, her meeting with Crowley at a private fundraiser 2 nights before the arrest. Her handwritten notes about tightening sentencing on certain groups, her signatures approving dismissed complaints, even her text messages ordering harsher treatment for defendants with profiles like his. Crowley stepped closer to peek and instantly went pale. What is this?" the judge demanded, voice cracking. "Evidence," Marcus said. collected over the last 7 months. 7 months? She whispered. Yes, Marcus replied. The length of time I've been running an investigation on your courtroom. Gasps exploded through the gallery. Judge Boyd looked like she'd been slapped. You? An investigation? You're a defendant. Marcus stepped forward, posture straightening, voice deepening with authority. No, Your Honor. I'm the man who was assigned to investigate systemic corruption in this courthouse. She shook her head violently. That's impossible. You're just a black man? Marcus finished for her. Is that the part that's making this hard to believe? She stared at him, lips trembling. Marcus reached into his coat again, slowly this time, and produced a badge. A gold badge. The room erupted. Crowley staggered back. The bailiff's jaw dropped. Even the court reporter's hands froze above the keys. Judge Boyd's voice came out small. What authority is that? Marcus stepped forward, placing the badge on the bench in front of her. Federal Bureau of Investigation, he said clearly. Director Marcus Hale. She felt the blood drain from her face. Director, FBI. The man she tried to jail. The man she tried to humiliate. The man she tried to silence. He wasn't her defendant. He was her investigator, her judge, her reckoning. Marcus leaned in. This hearing is no longer about me, he said quietly. It's about you, Cassandra Boyd. Her breath trembled, and for the first time in her career, Judge Cassandra Boyd was speechless. For a full 5 seconds no one breathed. The courtroom that once trembled under Judge Cassandra Boyd's authority now trembled under a very different force. Truth. Real, undeniable, unstoppable truth. And it came in the form of Marcus Hale, standing tall, unshaken, the gold FBI director badge gleaming on the judge's bench like a verdict already delivered. Judge Boyd's fingers trembled as they hovered over the badge. This is fake, she whispered. Some elaborate stunt. Marcus tilted his head. If you believe that, Your Honor, feel free to verify it. The assistant director is waiting outside. Her pupils froze. A ripple of panic crossed her face, small but visible enough for everyone to see. The gallery began murmuring. Even the officers guarding Marcus looked unsure. Their expressions shifted from suspicion to embarrassment. They had manhandled the FBI director. They had followed a judge, who was now being investigated in real time. Marcus didn't gloat. He didn't smirk. He simply stood with the calm of a man who knew he had already won the moment he walked in. Crowley, the prosecutor, tried to regain control. Your Honor, this is ridiculous. He could have stolen that badge. This is a trick to interfere with ongoing proceedings. Marcus turned to him slowly. Mr. Crowley, do you really want to play that card? Crowley swallowed hard. His eyes flicked to the folder. Pictures, recordings, texts, every piece of evidence tying him to the judge's corruption. His throat tightened. Sweat formed at his hairline. Yes, Marcus said. I thought not. He stepped forward, and the officers parted instinctively, even though just yesterday they were ready to cuff him like a criminal. Marcus addressed the room, voice firm and resonant. Courtroom 3B has been under federal surveillance for 7 months. Every biased ruling, every unlawful denial of representation, every racially motivated sentence, recorded. Whispers exploded everywhere. Judge Boyd slammed her shaky hands on the bench. This is my courtroom. I will not allow this charade. Marcus's voice dropped low, controlled. Your courtroom? No, Your Honor. This courtroom belongs to the law you violated, the law you twisted for years. He paused. And the law that is here today to take you into custody. Judge Boyd's face crumbled. Years of power, built on fear and bias, cracked beneath the weight of accountability. You can't. I can, Marcus said, and I will. Crowley shot forward like a cornered animal. Your Honor, we need a recess, a private chamber meeting, something. Marcus didn't even look at him. The chambers you've both used to hide your deals? No, everything stays in the open today. Judge Boyd tried to rise from her bench, but her legs wobbled. She sank back down, gripping the armrests. Bailiff, she said with a trembling voice, arrest him. Arrest Marcus Hale immediately. The bailiff didn't move. Her eyes widened. Did you hear me? The bailiff swallowed. Ma'am, he outranks the entire building. Marcus turned to the bailiff, nodding slightly. You're fine. Just stand down. Boyd's desperation spiked. Crowley, do something! But Crowley was backing away slowly, hands raised. I didn't know he was FBI. I only followed your instructions. Oh, so now you bring up my name, she hissed. Marcus lifted the file containing her handwritten orders. There's more than your name in here. There are your directives, your signatures, your voice messages. He held up a USB drive. And your private calls to donors asking for harsher sentencing on minorities. A woman in the gallery gasped. Someone else whispered, "She's finished." Judge Boyd lurched to her feet, rage replacing fear. "You set me up." "I investigated you," Marcus corrected. "You set up innocent people. You destroyed families. You abused the bench for personal gain." "I dispensed justice. You dispensed prejudice." She flinched as if slapped. Marcus took another step forward. "Your Honor, you denied bail to people who didn't deserve a day in jail. You imposed maximum sentencing when minimum was appropriate. You silenced defense attorneys. You manipulated juries. You created an environment where black defendants had no chance. And you think you can just walk in here and humiliate me?" She spat. Marcus's expression hardened. "No, Judge Boyd, you humiliated yourself. I'm just presenting the evidence." Her breathing turned shallow. "I will fight this. I will call the governor. I will—" "You won't call anyone," Marcus said calmly. "Your phone has been under federal hold since this morning." Her face collapsed. Crowley's voice cracked. What happens now?" Marcus turned toward him with the coldness of someone who had read every dirty secret the man tried to bury. "What happens now is simple." He looked at the officers. "Take Prosecutor Vincent Crowley into custody for obstruction of justice, evidence tampering, and conspiracy." Crowley's eyes widened in horror. "Wait, no, you can't. You don't understand. She made me." Officers moved toward him. "You have the right to remain silent," one began. Crowley panicked, twisting, shouting, "Cassandra, help me!" But Judge Boyd was too far gone. She was staring at Marcus, lips trembling, body rigid with shock. Marcus returned his attention to her. "As for you," he said quietly, "federal agents are outside this courtroom with an arrest warrant." Her knees buckled. "You will be charged," Marcus continued, "with judicial corruption, civil rights violations, bribery, and conspiracy against the public trust." Judge Boyd collapsed back into her chair, eyes glazing. "And Cassandra?" Marcus added softly. "This isn't revenge. This is justice, the justice you denied countless others." Her face crumpled. The courtroom watched the downfall of a woman who believed she was untouchable. And for the first time, Marcus Hale allowed himself the smallest exhale. The case was no longer about exposing corruption. Now it was about consequences. The courtroom door opened with a metallic clang that sliced through the heavy silence. 2 federal agents stepped inside, their badges visible, their expressions grim but controlled. The entire gallery turned toward them instinctively, sensing the moment that would seal Judge Cassandra Boyd's fate. For years she had walked into this room with the arrogance of a monarch. Now she watched federal agents walk toward her with the certainty of destiny. Marcus took a single step back, not out of fear, but out of respect for protocol. This part was not his job, it was theirs. But the courtroom still felt like it belonged to him for a moment, as if truth itself had chosen him as its messenger. "Judge Cassandra Boyd," the lead agent announced, voice echoing through the still courtroom, "you are under arrest for charges including judicial corruption, violation of civil rights, bribery, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice." The words struck her like blows. Her shoulders sagged. Her fingers, usually so firm, so commanding, clutched the edges of her bench as if the wood could save her. "You can't do this," she whispered. I am a judge." "You were a judge," Marcus corrected quietly. "Until 5 minutes ago." Her eyes darted to him. Fear, rage, confusion, all tangled together. "This is revenge," she spat. "You came here to destroy me." "No," Marcus replied, voice even, controlled. "I came to reveal you. You destroyed yourself." The agent stepped closer. Boyd tried one last time to cling to her power. "This court, this building, they belong to me." "No," Marcus said again, "they belong to the people, the ones you failed." Her breath hitched. She opened her mouth to protest, but this time no words came. The gavel she had once wielded like a weapon now sat powerless in front of her. For years she had sentenced men and women with that same cold silence. Today, silence sentenced her. Agent Ramirez, tall, steady, placed handcuffs on her wrists. The metallic click echoed louder than any gavel she had ever slammed. The gallery collectively exhaled. Some looked relieved, some looked overwhelmed, some simply looked stunned. But everyone understood what they were watching, the fall of a tyrant. As she was lifted from her seat, Cassandra Boyd's eyes searched the room, desperate to find even one ally. She found none. Not a single soul rose for her, not even Crowley, who now sat cuffed on the floor, head hanging. The agents guided her toward the door. As she passed Marcus, she stopped, wrists bound, pride shattered. "You think this makes you a hero?" she hissed. Marcus looked at her with steady composure. "No, I think this makes me responsible." Her jaw tightened. For the first time, her voice cracked. I made mistakes." "No," Marcus said quietly. "You made choices." She flinched as if the sentence itself were a punishment. The agents escorted her out. The heavy courtroom doors closed behind her, and with that sound, years of injustice collapsed. Silence lingered for several long seconds. Then the gallery rose to its feet, not in applause, not in spectacle, but in deep, overwhelming respect. People didn't cheer, they breathed. They breathed like they were allowed to for the first time in that courtroom, like the air had finally been cleaned. A woman in the second row wiped tears. "My brother," she whispered. She sentenced him without hearing anything. Maybe now he has a chance. A man 2 rows back said, "She ruined lives. This is the first time I've seen her scared." Marcus approached the bench, picking up the badge he had placed there earlier. He brushed the wooden surface gently, almost reverently. "Justice isn't loud," he said quietly to the room. "It's steady, it's patient, and eventually it arrives." The judge's now empty chair seemed strangely small, weak, a symbol of how fragile power becomes when detached from responsibility. An officer stepped forward. "Director Hale, sir." "What now?" Marcus looked around the courtroom, the same courtroom he had walked into accused, disrespected, and denied. Today he stood as the man who had dismantled every lie spoken against him. "Now," he said firmly, "we rebuild." He motioned toward the gallery. "Everyone who suffered under this courtroom will have their cases reopened, every sentence re-examined, every wrongful judgment overturned." More murmurs, this time filled with relief, hope, gratitude. "And one more thing," Marcus added. The room quieted again. To everyone who watched injustice for years but felt powerless, "Your courage brought us here. Your complaints, your statements, your persistence helped build this case. You were heard, even when you thought no one was listening." People lowered their heads, some in tears, some in pride. Crowley, still cuffed, looked up weakly. "Marcus, I was following her orders. I didn't have a choice." Marcus walked slowly to him. "You always had a choice. You chose convenience over conscience." Crowley shut his eyes, defeated. As officers led him out, the courtroom began to empty. One by one, people paused near Marcus, some nodding, some whispering thank you, some simply placing a hand briefly over their heart. When the last person left, the courtroom felt lighter, like a wound beginning to heal. Marcus stood alone in the center. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the silence settle. Justice wasn't perfect, justice wasn't quick, but today, justice happened. He turned toward the exit, shoulders steady, stride certain. The FBI director didn't walk out as a victor. He walked out as a servant of truth. And for the first time in years, courtroom 3B was finally clean.